Hello there. I'm Mad Mike. For those just joining me, welcome. For those joining me again, welcome back. And ladies and gents, it is still Halloween. So this year, we've been diving into the classic icons of Frankenstein and Dracula. Last time, I talked about the Universal film of Frankenstein that came out in 1931 and gave general audiences the idea of Frankenstein we've known for years. This iconic image of the character would continue to age and evolve over the years, and has been the most prominently featured when talking about Frankenstein. However, the film is nothing like the original novel, which honestly has a far deeper and more meaningful narrative. It wouldn't be until many years later that we got a more faithful adaptation of Shelley's story. For the most part. Directed by Kenneth Branagh in 1994, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was meant to be a more accurate portrayal of Shelley's novel, centering around a scientist and alchemist who sought to defy nature and bring life to the world. However, he now has to live with his decision as the creation begins to tear his life apart, figuratively and very literally. Now, to this film's credit, it does follow the novel far better than Universal's. And the scenes that they do that are from the original novel, they do pretty well. Unfortunately, it's the creative liberties that they take that cause the film to fall just short. So, what does this film do that allows it to more closely follow the original novel, but not quite make the mark? Only one way to find out. This is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Let's review. As the title of the film approaches, we get a narration of words by Mary Shelley, talking about her inspiration for writing the novel.
One to make the reader dread to look around, to curdle the blood.
And that would make bank at the box offices. The movie then begins, to its credit, pretty much like the original novel. It follows an expedition to the Arctic led by Captain Robert Walton, played by Aidan Quinn. Walton desires to explore and defy nature, so he leads a ship to the Arctic, hoping to go where no man has gone before.
Iceberg ahead!
Oh, don't look so terrified. This is Frankenstein, not Titanic. You'll be fine. The crew are stranded and Walton wants to press on once the ice melts. After hearing a terrifying sound, to their surprise, a man appears. They bring him on board and, once he recovers health, tells Walton his tale.
Who are you? My name is Victor Frankenstein.
We are then treated to Frankenstein's tale as he first discusses his childhood. Frankenstein, who was played by Kenneth Branagh. Wait, Kenneth Branagh? Why does that name sound so familiar? Ah! Right. He's the director. Yeah, it's gonna be one of those kind of movies. Anyway, Victor tells us his tale. He hails from Geneva, Switzerland, and grew up with his father, played by Ian Holm, his mother, played by Shelley Lungi, and his adoptive sister and eventual lover, Elizabeth, played by Helena Bonham Carter. He lived a happy life and was a studious person. Not to mention he was a 5-time winner of Witch Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award. But, he doesn't like to talk about that. He didn't gain his fascination of life and death by smiling, after all. Anywho, Victor seems to be living the dream. Not a care in the world. Alright. Who dies? Death by childbirth. What a shame. Especially because in the original novel she actually died through scarlet fever. But, you know, details. After his mother's death, Victor vows to discover the secrets of life, performing different experiments over the next couple of years. Elizabeth, their friend Justine Moritz, played by Trevine McDowell, and Victor's younger brother William, played by Ryan Smith, join him on one of his experiments, where he causes their bodies to conduct electricity.
So, how do you feel, Elizabeth?
Alive!
Thanks to some extra crispy foreshadowing. Before Victor departs to Ingolstadt to study, he proposes to Elizabeth, who happily accepts. Calm down. They're not blood-related, it's fine. When Victor arrives, he is disappointed to discover that his area of study, alchemy and ancient science, is not well received at his university. This is especially the case when it comes to one of his professors, Professor Kremp, played by Robert Hardy. Wait a minute. Kenneth Branagh, Helena Bonham Carter, and now Robert Hardy? How many future Harry Potter actors we got in this film anyhow? Yo! I knew it, I'm surrounded by future Harry Potter actors. Keep acting, future Harry Potter actors! After his argument with Kremp, Victor gains the attention of fellow student Henry Clerval, played by Tom Hulse, who tells him about Professor Waldman, played by John Cleese.
Ran into trouble with the authorities a few years back. Something to do with illegal experiments.
Well, what kind of experiments, I wonder?
Well, from what I heard, he was on a quest to find the Holy Grail. After getting into another heated argument with Kremp, Frankenstein is approached by Waldman, who reveals to him and Henry that he also had similar dreams to Victor. He then shows them one of his experiments, where he gives life to a monkey's hand.
Yes. How do you do?
Aw, sheesh. And I thought monkey's paws were supposed to be lucky. Oh, no, wait. That's rabbit's foot. Oh, what do monkey paws do again? Inspired by Waldman's demonstration, Frankenstein wants to start experiments on human specimens, something that Waldman advises against.
My work now and its application lies exclusively in the preservation of life. I abandoned my other researches many years ago.
Why? Because the byproduct of his experiments were much too silly. Frankenstein wants to look at Waldman's journal, but Waldman refuses. After all, as long as he lives, no one will repeat the same mistakes he did.
You're not sticking that to me!
Sir? Professor? Sir?
Well, what did you think was going to happen?
After Waldman dies, Victor goes through his notes and begins his experiments. As I mentioned before, Shelley left the details about Victor's experiments vague, so it allowed creative liberties when the story was adapted to the big screen. Here, Victor is seen going around Ingolstadt during a time of plague, stealing body parts, taking a hangman's body, even taking fluids from a woman giving birth. And to bring the creature to life in this movie, he uses electric eels.
Well, that's new.
Worried about him, Elizabeth comes and wants to know why he hasn't written. Obsessed with his work, Victor demands she leaves.
But I cannot abandon this work now. It is too important, not just for me, but, believe me, for everyone.
I'm sorry, little one.
Victor then continues his work and gives us the famous creation scene.
But why is he shirtless? He's gotta have a job to buy a shirt, Dan.
Okay, all kidding aside, this is a pretty kick-ass scene. It's fast-paced, tense, and the music gives it a perfect atmosphere, creating the sense of urgency and anticipation that Victor must be feeling. Plus, loading the creature in a tank and bringing it to life using electric eels is extremely creative and unique. The experiment seemingly doesn't work, leaving Victor dejected. However, it seems it was simply a delayed response, as the monster begins moving. And remember when I mentioned how influential Colin Clive's famous line from the 1931 film was?
It's alive. It's alive.
Yeah, there it is.
Now, a weirdly hilarious scene follows this. It's not meant to be hilarious, but it kind of is. To get the creature out, the tank spills over, causing the floor to be flooded with water. I kid you not, the next 45 seconds of this film is just the two of them trying to get up while slipping on each other. Why? Brana dedicated this amount of time to this scene, I will never know. And it's so awkwardly done that all I have to do is add these sound effects and it'll turn to outright slapstick. After it gets caught in the chains, Victor presumes that it's dead. After trying to get some rest, though, he hears a strange noise. No! My God! He created Robert De Niro! No joke, the monster is in fact played by Robert De Niro. Victor's creation flees, taking his jacket and notebook in the process. When morning comes, the creature is chased out of town, hiding in a cart full of dead bodies.
Bring out your dead! Bring out your dead!
Also, it seems nobody is going to address the fact that some random guy left into a pile of dead bodies in the middle of broad daylight. Victor is nursed back to health by Henry and Elizabeth, while the monster hides out in a barn attached to a cottage. Now, the film does something a little bit different than the original novel does. You see, the book is divided into different perspectives, the most prominent, of course, being Frankenstein's. At this point, we follow Frankenstein along his recovery and know nothing of the fate of his creature. It isn't until the death of Victor's younger brother, spoilers, that we reunite with the monster who recounts its tale to Frankenstein. The movie does it a bit differently, switching to what's happening with both titular characters. And I think it's fine, as even though the monster's story is told later in the novel, it was happening at exactly the same time as Victor was recovering. So, over the course of the next few scenes, we get to see the monster observe and learn from the family in the cottage, where he also helps them with tasks in secret. Now, there are several differences regarding the family from the book to the novel. Hell, the only two people that were originally from the novel that were in the movie were the blind man and his son. But you know what? Even with the differences, it still does a fine job. The monster then begins to learn to read by observing the mother teach her daughter, eventually being able to read Frankenstein's journal.
Victor. Frankenstein.
If found, call J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now. One day, the landlord comes looking for the son. After harassing the daughter, the landlord attacks the old man. Well, my. I know the landlord wanted to raise his property through the roof, but I didn't think he meant it literally. We then get a scene of the monster talking to the old man. Honestly, it's such a tender scene, as the creature can finally speak with someone who won't judge him. Hell, when the blind man feels his body and his stitches, the man only feels more pity and the monster grieves about how no one will accept him, showing us his humanity.
Why do you not go to them?
I am so very ugly, and they are so very beautiful.
That was beautiful. We still gotta run him out of town.
The family then comes and, mistaking the monster for the one who attacked the old man, chase him out. When the creature returns, he finds that they are no longer there. He then takes a closer look at Frankenstein's journal and begins to further comprehend what he is. Oh no! Frankenstein put them on upside down! Vowing revenge, the monster heads towards Geneva, hoping to find his creator. Not quite sure how he figures out how to get there, so let's just assume directions were in the journal. He arrives around the same time as Victor does and kills his younger brother William. When Will is discovered after the townspeople go looking for him, Justine is framed after she's found sleeping in a barn with Will's locket.
My God, what are they doing? They must have broken into the jail.
Now what do they think they're doing? Haven't they read the original book? There's supposed to be a trial first. Justine is taken by the townspeople and hung in the middle of town. Jesus! That's brutal! Later that night, the monster approaches Frankenstein and demands to meet him in the mountains alone. Frankenstein goes the next day, and the two talk in a cave. This is another great scene, as we get to see them interact, and the monster questions his desire and purpose for Frankenstein giving him life. Something that clearly Victor never thought about. It's a strong part of the story because it gives both Victor and the viewer a chance to ponder this mystery and realize the consequences of their actions. The monster requests that Victor make it a mate, promising to leave him and humanity be should he fulfill his request. Victor agrees but hesitates to finish it when it's revealed that the monster wants to use Justine as his bride.
Go on, kill me now.
That is mild compared to what will come. If you deny me my wedding night, I will be with you on yours.
You do not want to see me in a wedding dress, Frankenstein. Mark my words. Elizabeth almost leaves due to Victor's secrecy, but he convinces her to stay when he promises to marry her that day. They do so in front of their dearest friends and Victor's father.
Till death do you part.
Aww. Their romance is so heartwarming. To protect Elizabeth, Victor flees to a cottage on a lake and has guards stationed outside. Despite that, though, the monster manages to break in. I'm not quite sure if I could show Elizabeth's death scene, as I'm not sure YouTube would allow me. But, let's just say the monster pulls a Temple of Doom on her. I think people are going to understand the reference. Alright, so just like in the book, the creature has taken Elizabeth's life on their wedding night. So just like in the book, Frankenstein heads home, attaches Elizabeth's head to Justine's body, and brings her back to life the same way he made the monster. Wait, what the f***? That didn't happen! Well, I guess I can give Brana credit for creativity, but not only is this really disturbing and unsettling, it's super unnecessary. I understand that Victor has had the motivation of wanting to save his loved ones from death, but considering what happened with bringing the creature to life, I don't feel like he would ever do this to Elizabeth. The scene itself is super uncomfortable too, with Victor trying to get the resurrected Elizabeth to remember him, having them awkwardly dancing, and then having Victor and the creature fight over her, causing her to realize what she has become, and then lighting herself on fire.
What am I watching? I don't know, but I hate it.
So, with Elizabeth's second death, Victor pursues the monster across the world, which brings us back to the beginning of the movie. However, Walton is not convinced by Victor's story and thinks they should continue onwards now that the ice is melting. Before the crew can protest, they hear a noise below deck.
Why do you weep? He was my father.
Somewhere deep down in my heart, I still love you.
While giving Frankenstein a funeral, the ice begins to melt. Walton offers the monster a chance to join them, but the creature refuses, saying he is done with humanity. He then lights both himself and Victor on fire, and Walton decides to abandon his quest. And that was Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Despite being closer to the original novel, it's still not quite there. This movie is hard to gauge. It's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. There's a lot of things that do work, and even if they don't follow the novel exactly, there are points that follow the novel close enough. Brana and De Niro also give us a great performance, even at their more campy moments. On the other hand, the stuff that doesn't work really doesn't work, especially the scene of Elizabeth. It's such an unnecessary addition, and it feels like it was just put in for shock value. Is it better than the book or the 1931 film? No, but I suppose it's still worth a watch if you're looking for an interpretation that's closer to the novel. So if you're feeling the spark of nature and insanity, then you can do worse than Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I'd recommend reading the book if you really want this story at its best and purest form. Well, thank you for joining me on this review. And next time, we shall review Dracula. Until then, farewell.